Hello, it's Jon Binnie. I am answering your question about stages of awakening and how will you know when you're fully awake. Okay, so we're driving, right? And I'm just going to, before I drive, I'm going to just share Nancy D74's question. And she says, as someone who is wading through a stage of awakening, in brackets, thanks for your guidance, I got a question answered on a recent live stream, and goes on to say, how is it that we know when we are fully awake? I realize everyone's experiences are different. I feel I have been awake for a very long time, but with a lot of hard work. I've risen to a new level of consciousness. Thank you for all that you do for us. Well, thank you. Let me just mark your question as done, and I'm going to start driving. And I'm driving from Boroughbridge up to Morpeth in the northeast. So that's exciting. Just thank this lovely van for letting me out. Okay. So, I feel to help guide towards an answer of how will you know when you're fully awakened. I feel there's a lot of foundational concepts to explore. Excuse me. And I'm guided to connect with the. Go on then. Are you gonna go? Not gonna go. Is gonna go. Yes. There's this guidance to start with the term fully awakened. You know, how will we know when we're fully awakened? Perhaps some of this is in our human expectation, in our cultures. Oh, let me flip you around so you can see the adventure we're going on. Some of it's connected with our various different expectations, right? Such as terms like enlightenment, which I love the term, almost describes a destination. And the term fully awakened also implies there is a destination. So if there's one thing I've learned on my awakening journey, is that there is no destination. There is no such thing as fully awakened. It is your awakening journeys, your spiritual awakening journeys never end. And I feel that's also good news, right? Because who wants a dull destination? I don't want to get to the end of this journey and somehow be like, yes, I am Jon Binnie, fully awakened. I am the full Monty. It just doesn't feel like that. And every time you feel like you identify the next thing that you really want to do, you know, you might want to open your heart chakra. That's a great place to start. That's the best place to start. You might want to open your third eye. That's also fantastic, right? Each of these can be fully opened. That is true. And perhaps this is helpful, that a chakra can be fully opened, and then there's another dimension to it, which is it can also be upgraded, right? So it's not just the kind of this widening of your heart, for example. It's also the So it's not just the expansion, it's the activation. For example, going into rainbow activation, you know, a full spectrum, multicolored, huge vibrational range chakra, whether it's your heart, your crown, third eye, throat, etc., anything. And it's all a journey. Spiritual awakening is a journey that never ends. And ooh, there's an object on the road ahead. There was a lot of reports of that on the drive up here last night. Debris on the road, so just keeping a little bit of distance, especially this lorry in front of me. I know it looks far away on camera. It's oh, there is an object. It's a car. The car's pulled over. I'm going to overtake. I feel a little bit like a killjoy in this answer so far. Like, oh, it never ends, and it's true. What I would say is it gets easier, right? It might feel, especially towards the early stages of awakening, that oh my God, my whole life turned upside down. And based on our previous experiences in life, we can often expect, you know, change to kind of go through a curve, right? It goes through this kind of, oh my God, here's like a massive change, and then, oh, it's okay. I feel like things are settling back down again after the change, and then maybe another wave of change will come later. That's not been my experience with my spiritual awakening. It's been much more that it's continual, and it's more a journey of, okay, what's next? Right? It's not, oh, I'm so glad, oh, I'm fully awakened now. Oh, that's it. Whew. I can finally just settle into my life, settle into who I am, and that's it. And I feel that goes right back to the core of of our spiritual awakenings. Now, just a couple of years ago, I came across Facebook memories. I used to be much more active on Facebook, especially prior to my awakening. And during that time, I would post, you know, in the year lead up, so through 2016, I would post pictures of the sky, nature, beautiful places. Sometimes it'd be like clouds, like whatever, trees, whatever it was. Things that caught my attention and that seemed magical to me. And I remember sometimes, because our outside reality reflects our inside reality. So and I feel that's the secret of photography, right? Is to have an incredible inside reality, and you will, you know, incredible heart, and you will be able to take photos of the sky and the stars and and nature around you, reflecting this back to you, and that's awesome, right? And it was only when I more recently looked back through photos of around 2016 that I started to see that the universe was showing me that some changes were already happening within me. They were too subtle for me to consciously acknowledge. I did start to pick up on things like, some people call them angel numbers, so 444, on the clock, or 11:11. In the UK we use the 24-hour clock, so you also get 14:44, which is in 12-hour time is 2:44. We also get 22:22, so all the twos. I also moved into a home about that time, moved house, that was number 22, and 22 for me has always been a huge transformational number in my life. And my current house number is 37, and 7 has always been my my life path number, my angel number. And 3 sevens, so 3, I still have that video on the homepage of my YouTube channel that says my 3 keys to awakening. I have 3, it's like 3 sevens, it's like the 3 keys, 37. So, things like this were happening in my life. There's a crazy flashing light. I think it's a broken screen. It's like the prompt flashing away on the screen and just passing there. It's funny. And then when I went into my awakening, I'm sure I'd been drinking the night before, which was really, really common. I was drinking pretty much every night before my awakening for many, many, many years. And it was something like 10 a.m. So that felt quite early. Sure, I felt like a little bit hungover on a Saturday morning, some Saturday in November 2017. And I went to this meditation class. It was a Kundalini yoga meditation. And that's where I went to at a local village hall. Later, I came to know this is where the Witch's Stone is. It's where there's a huge amount of local history about witches, and I also had past lives there. And of course, I didn't know any of that stuff, right? I was just like, I'm just going for meditation, which I'd never done before. I'd never done a class like that before. And I then, during meditation, and there was like on and off meditations, multiple meditations through the hour. The hour felt like an eternity. And I felt really beautiful energy, which was energy flowing between, I kept seeing visuals in my third eye of stars and planets and energy flowing between them. And it was so profound. The energy was huge. It was like energy that would build a planet, would reinvigorate or bring a planet back to life. Imagine a planet being covered in a wave of energy sent from another, such as there was like stars to planets and backwards and forwards and nebulas, and it fills my heart with such joy. I still remember those visuals so powerfully. And I felt that I was being shown something to crack open my mind, right? My heart really felt it, just as I feel it now in the recollection of that memory. And it goes to, as I understand it now, that was actually my soul origins. That was one of the jobs I did as a hybrid, or you could just describe it as an angelic dragon. I'd help source with the co-creation. I was like a kind of galactic midwife. I would help support the birthing of planets and stars. So I was like the kind of hands on the ground, so to speak. And the really incredible thing was my mind was immediately hooked. So your mind is a big part of your awakening journey. And I know I'm a bit, I would describe myself now as very, very heart-led. And sometimes I underplay or underestimate what my mind has learned. A bit like doing videos like this, this is, yes, there's deep dives into my heart, but really a lot of it's guided through my mind and my heart and mind connection. Back then, November 2017, I was much more just about the mind, but what it did do is really open up my mind to, hey, John, here's a thing that you could do in your life. What? And I just remember asking the meditation teacher, could I do this myself? He said, yeah, just do the same things we did today. Could you? And they said, just follow the same practices. You can do it every day and enjoy it. And I did. And I started every day. And as far as I know, I've not skipped a day since. Whether it's been, sitting up in bed and meditating, lying in bed and meditating, even falling in and out of sleep as I do it, but still completing a meditation. Today I was doing some of it during my morning run, and then I spent a moment standing actually in my motorhome completing my meditation today. So that's been a huge thing for me. And you might wonder why is such importance in your spiritual awakening given to meditation? And it's not necessarily because meditation is just so, oh, it's so incredible, I meditate every day, or I meditate while I sleep, or I meditate while I drive. Like, oh my God, maybe don't do that. It's not like meditation isn't just some elite club that you join and you're either like awakening or not. It's just not as simple as that. And I really resonate with life as a meditation. And one of my more recent fifth dimensional ascension classes, it's the last, if you scroll down the list of 5D ascension classes in the playlist on the homepage of my YouTube channel, or it's also linked from Getting Started with John on the homepage of jonbinnie.com, you'll see that in that list, the furthest one down on the list that talks about meditation or deepening your meditation practice helps you explore a really wide range of different meditation techniques: standing, walking, meditation in nature, 3 deep breaths. There's just all these different things you can do. And you might ask why is meditation so important and so powerful in our awakening journeys? It's really simple. Meditation creates space. It's you setting an intention to create space in your life to receive more. And whatever happens in that receiving, you might be talking to your spirit guides, you might be just allowing your mind to settle a bit, you might be just telling the rest of the world you've got to wait for just 1 minute, or even just 3 deep breaths. You might be connecting with your body and asking your body how it's feeling and what you can do to best support your body today. You can be asking anything, right? And I feel that's so beautiful, because it's a real I really wanted to swear there, and there's just no need to swear. It's a real finger up to those that are constantly trying to push you into fear and anxiety and fight or flight, is that when you create that space within you, you're like, whatever, it can wait. If it's really that important, I'll remember after this 1 minute or 3 minutes or 10 minutes. And in those 10 minutes, you get to become whoever you want to be. You get to feel the things you want to feel. You take back control and sovereignty of your mind, body, soul, heart. And if you're new to your awakening journey, welcome. Welcome to going through the processes of being kind of feeling like your whole life is being pulled apart in front of your eyes, and then gradually something new is building. And what seemed, it seems so predictable, our lives, when we're plugged into this matrix, into this third dimensional system, because it is quite simple, right? It says, buy a lot, buy a house, buy a car, buy a bunch of stuff you don't need. I'm just passing an Amazon lorry. Bunch of stuff you don't need. Get a partner. Do the things that couples do. Post on social media all the things you do. You go on holiday, you visit places, you drink a glass of wine at sunset, you paint the portrayal of this perfect picture of your dream life to others, and yet inside your heart is aching, your soul is aching, you're scared of not being enough, you're scared of I don't really know why this lorry changed lane. Looks like it knows more than me about signs. Yeah, it does. It also has a lot of scaffolding on the back. And yeah, I was burning out. I was really burnt out, right? We don't need to wait to our bodies literally stop us to describe ourselves as burnt out. I'd pushed too hard for many, many years, and what I was getting back in return wasn't fulfilling me or my soul. And my 26 years in software, including 8 years at Amazon, was just a phenomenal experience, and so powerful to help me eventually leave, and then now I've created my own business. That's been really helpful experience for me. But I was so done with this kind of corporate trap, these golden handcuffs, as my son called them. And at points I had so much money, I didn't know what to do with it. I just knew, I think my subconscious knew that I just didn't have the time or energy to enjoy the money. Even if I did make the physical time, I was too stressed to really enjoy it when I was doing these things. So my whole life started to change, right? It's like, I don't really want to be at Amazon anymore. I don't really want to, but I didn't know what else I wanted to do. I didn't really want such a big house that took so long to clean and to maintain. I remember it used to take like an hour and 15 minutes to hoover the whole house. It just seems so excessive. Including 2 rooms I never used, which I also thought was really funny. And paid a mortgage on a house. And yes, we could afford it, but why? Why have a big mortgage in it? I remember thinking, what about all the families in the world that don't even have a home? And I'm paying for 2 extra rooms that are just empty, and I go and clean them once a week. I see them once a week. What is the point in that? Just going to gulp some juice, so gulp inbound. A lot of people go through, this disconnection, this disassociation with your current life. And it's okay, right? And you know why it is? It's because your heart is opened. Our awakenings, our spiritual awakenings are heart openings. This is what my Lyran guide, Emenchal, when I asked him, what do you call a spiritual awakening? like that us humans go through. And he said it's a heart awakening, it's an open heart awakening. And it makes perfect sense, right? Because although you're very drawn to your logical mind, you know, and so you could say to yourself, you might even be able to convince your heart, your mind could say, well, look, I've ticked all the boxes in the program, right? The program says I've got to have a full-time job, tick. Have a big house, tick. Have a big car, tick. Have a beautiful partner, tick. Have kids, tick. Go on holidays, tick. You know, buy stuff I don't need, tick. It's like, so your mind can say to yourself, well, you know what? Like, this is basically as good as it gets. This is happiness. So your mind's saying to your heart, so heart, whatever you're feeling down there, just, that's it, right? However, when your heart begins to open, right, there becomes this much more balanced, and to begin with, you know, a kind of rebalancing, right? So you fall more extremely into your heart. As your heart opens, like, whoa, actually, all those things I've been telling myself with my mind, they don't feel very good. I don't feel great about having a big house, because, like, who am I trying to impress? It doesn't impress me. It just costs me a lot more money and energy and seems excessive. And that car, I think in most I've had a caravan, a motorhome, and a car. Like, do I really need all those things? I'm the only driver in our family right now. So having two vehicles on the driveway, and at some points I had two vehicles, like a camper van, a car, and a caravan. And depending on which vehicle we wanted to drive, I'd have to drive one vehicle out of the way to allow the chosen vehicle, whether it's the camper van or the car, to be accessed, and then move the other one back afterwards. Just seemed like, and pay for the privilege, of course, you know, thousands each year on insurance and maintenance. So when you might go through that experience with your partner as well. You might say to yourself, oh, well, they look beautiful, and they, you know, and I need a partner. That's what the program says, right? And they're, you know, you either do or don't have children, or you do or don't share a home together. Suddenly, when your heart's engaged, that's when you're like, oh, like what do I want? What do I really want? And you know, it's true. A lot of people, and some people might even argue, right, that everyone, but I don't agree. Some people go through breakups, and it's really, really common, right? Why would it be common? Because when our heart's open, we stop, like, just putting up with crap from others, right? We're like, you start to perceive others far more clearly, because you can feel their energy far more clearly. You can feel their shadows. You can feel the things that they struggle with. And so in your heart, you're like, well, I'm no longer kind of just trying to convince myself that everything's okay in the relationship. So what's the point? Like, why do this? Why have this relationship? And you might even start talking to your partner about your awakening experiences, and they'll be like, WTF, they're like, you're crazy, right? And I feel very blessed to still be with my wife 33 plus years since we first met. And yes, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, right? Because you go through, I've changed so much. One thing that's just really helped me through our relationship is you're being open and honest, and there's often new things coming in, you know. Like a couple of years ago, just over 2 years ago, I came out of my psychic closet, and that was really important to me, you know, not because I wanted to label myself, more because I didn't want to feel scared of hiding these aspects of myself. So that was big. But there's many things, you know, and it was a lot of it was right back at the start of the awakening journey. And remember, love can bridge anything, right? Love can bridge Beauty and the Beast, right? Was I the Beast? Maybe. And some simple practice I learned was not to preach to others, right? It's not up to us to tell others about what lies on the other side of their awakening. Because awakenings are hard, right? They are really, really hard. We go through such trauma. You know, our whole lives are turned upside down, our whole self-identity is turned upside down. And for many of us, you know, many people are triggered in their awakenings through deaths, pregnancies, illness, car crashes, traumas. Our souls often choose in their soul blueprints for this lifetime a specific event around which you will awaken. And that's it. So there's often, for many of us, there's something happening around that as well. And yeah, I just go to a lot of effort to never to deny and never to dumb anything down, or to dim the message, rather than get lost in these kind of spiritual, intellectual conversations about, you know, what reality is and isn't. When I'm working on relationships and explaining things to others, I do so through like sharing actions and experiences, right? So I've used terms with loved ones such as, early on I said things like, I feel like I've been through some kind of awakening, through a spiritual awakening, and this is a catalyst that's changed a lot in my life, and where this is going, I don't know. This is me. This is not some external influence, and often we're not chasing a religion or a God outside of us. You know, our awakenings really are about inside of us. And a massive part of awakenings, you know, to this question of am I fully awakened, is our shadows, our fears. And I'll come on to this afterwards, some people do describe stages of awakenings, which I don't feel are there. You know, some people might resonate with that, and you can label people's unique experiences however you wish. I just see the whole thing as much more fluid, and that you go backwards and forwards. So stages imply a linear progression. It's not, right? I don't care what your stages say. I don't even care if you say that your stages, you can go up and down between them, because you can jump around from whatever stage 2 to 5 to 6 to 1, right? Do the whole thing in cycles. Let's keep things simple. Also, intellectually, you don't need to understand awakening, right? You don't have to read a book that says, this is how you spiritually awaken. You don't even need to know the term spiritual awakening. If I didn't know that term, I would be, I don't know, describing it as the day my whole life changed, or the day my mind was blown, or the day my heart opened. And shadow work, this process of facing fears and working through them, is, to begin with, is terrifying, right? And why is that, John? Why is shadow work so scary when you first start facing your fears? Because lightly, and we're all unique, right? Lightly, you have been hiding them from yourself. You've been like, I would drink a lot of alcohol to suppress mine, and you may consciously have your own barriers, your own built-in silos and protection mechanisms to stop you from having to face those fears. You may live a life of excuses and strange behaviors just to avoid those fears and shadows. And you don't ever ask yourself why. And you might sometimes face some of the biggest fears. Fear of losing a job, fear of losing a partner. But even bigger than those are fear of lack of loving yourself. I'm just reading the lorry in front. It says Boots, which is a chemist in the UK, and it says "Let's feel good" underneath it. That lorry is so close to snaking around all over the place, and it's so close to these bridges. You really would not want to be behind that if it hits a bridge that's too low. And that was definitely a realization for me in the first, I remember, because it wasn't really until into about 2018 I started to face my own fears. Then I started to realize like how many, wounds were there. Some go back to childhood, some to my parents' divorce when I was a teenager. Some go back to, overtake this guy. Some go back to experiences in my life where I've been mean to others or lashed out at others. It's, especially in my work. And all the time my heart was asking, John, please, like, we've got to face these feelings, we've got to look into them. And my body was storing the negative energy of those shadows and fears in different organs and parts of my body. I just remember, I was 40 years old, so it'll be 9 years this, or 10 years this November. Is that right? Can I do the maths? Because I'm 49 now. No, it would be, whatever. So that feeling of these suppressed emotions, and they're deep and dark, right? That I'd say for a lot of people, right? And it's not this. There's no hard and fast rule, and I really try and avoid using the term most people when they go through their spiritual awakenings, like, it's not a fact. It's just like most could even be 50.5%. And how do you know it's most people, right? I have met many people who describe an experience of, during their first months and years of awakening, that they face some of the deepest shadows. Now, they might not face them, right? They might even just become aware of them. And just know that this process never ends. However, just like, imagine you had to drive for the rest of your life, right? You had to drive every day for the rest of your life. And someone might ask you, well, when does this journey end? You say, well, it doesn't. For as long as I live, I will be driving every day. I'm driving, doing my shadow work. So the good news is, the more you drive, the better you get. You know, you get better at it. You get to learn what it feels like. You learn the speed that you want to drive at. You learn the most comfortable position. You learn what you want to drink or eat while you're driving. The music to listen to. Do you enjoy talking while you're driving? This is the same with shadow work. You get to face these fears. First of all, seeing them, and then allowing them to be felt by your heart. You might also tell others about it. That's a huge win, just saying, I'm scared of it. And it can be the silliest thing, right? It doesn't matter what it is. We're all scared. I love that saying that all fear is equal. And you know what's good about that is that when someone says, I'm scared of spiders, you don't think, oh, that's just ridiculous. You know, they're lovely little creatures, right? Because spiders are far more common than, well, depending on where you live in the world, than, for example, UFOs. And you might say, well, depending on the season, so you might say to yourself, well, you know, they might only see 1 or 2 UFOs in their lifetime, but they're going to see tons of spiders, and poor them, that's really tough that that's something they're so scared of. And it doesn't matter what you're scared of, right? Tell others about it. I tell my wife when I'm scared of driving somewhere. You know, it's so the old me would have said, I would rather have a day in the country, right? Rather than say, I'm scared of driving in the city. Especially now I have a motorhome, which is much harder. It's much wider than a car in the UK. We have these narrow roads. And now I just say to her, I said, I'm scared of driving in the city. I'm scared. I'm anxious about it. And it's so powerful when you tell others as well about your fear, because then you can deal with the fear, not the workaround that you come up with, right? So instead of arguing about whether you want to go to the city or not, you could say, actually, I do really want to go. Like, if I didn't have to drive into the city, you know, maybe we could go to like a park and ride, or a car park on the outskirts and get a train in, or maybe just get a train all the way, or a bus all the way, or a cycle, or whatever you choose. And suddenly life just becomes much simpler. And then when you're talking about it more, you realize, oh, actually, I could face that fear, right? How about we drive on the outskirts to begin with, and then park and get a bus in, and then the next time I go, we'll drive even deeper in, and then maybe the third time, I'll drive all the way into the center. You know, because I've built up that kind of muscle memory, that practice, and every time I'm facing the fear incrementally a bit more and more, it really helps me. And I stayed I slept in a car park last night, and I don't really enjoy arriving so late, and then because it's about 8:30, so it's dark, you don't really get a feel for a place. It was deathly quiet. A beautiful little town. And of all the things that worried me about staying the night was not people and noise or safety. I didn't want to annoy the locals because they had this lovely little community car park. It was donation based, and they'd already put in motorhome parking bays. It's just there was quite a lot of motorhomes there, and if it had been earlier in the day, I would have not stayed. I would have said, oh, that's not really fair. You know, there's too many motones. I don't add to the problem. And there's also a logic we're often very used to in our heads, right? Where we say to ourselves, oh, I mean, everyone else is doing it. And I just felt I'm too tired to drive it, and it's actually not very safe for me to keep driving that out. It's such a long day. So I just stayed. But it was, you know, late, there was no one around, the car park was really empty, and I left really early because I went off to see the Devil's Arrows. So I wanted to touch on a little bit about the stages, if you like. And I've never paid any attention to anyone else's categorizations. I can say on my journey, you know, the first couple of years has been just, oh my God, what happened to reality? You know, I already knew that this planet was controlled by dark forces, by families, elites, Illuminati, cabal, more. And I was starting, what I didn't know prior to my awakening, who the solution was. I thought that perhaps maybe our governments or armies would step in and, you know, defend us. But you know what? Everyone's part of this problem. And as the saying goes, until you become part of the solution. And when my heart awakened, and maybe that was all, you know, a precursor for me. Maybe it was all about, you know, seeing how broken this world was for many years, and then deciding, you know what, someone's got to do something, and I've got to do my bit, whatever it is. And that after, you know, and that's what encouraged me to go to this all subconscious, right? Go to a Kundalini yoga session, do an hour of meditation, and then, well, it's on and off meditation. Have my awakening experience and start meditating every day. A couple of weeks in, I was talking to my spirit guides. By 900 days in, so is that almost 3 years? It was 900 days on the dot, right? Because I remember I'd started asking my spirit guides for messages each day, and then I took those messages and turned them into songs. And what I was going through was this mental, because my heart already knew this. I was already talking to my spirit guides, taking their messages, putting them into songs. 900 songs in, and so it's a bit of a celebration for me. 900 felt consciously like I couldn't do that by myself, that I was getting support from higher beings. And so after that, I began to describe to myself as this being this is a real process. I feel that I'm learning how to psychically talk to spirit guides. And then not long after that, I started doing sessions for other people twice a week. And I started out with energy healing and talking to people's spirit guides. And if you ever wonder where my knowledge comes from, it's a combination of my spirit guides and my clients' spirit guides over many years. I don't read anything. I watch some videos, but really very little. I don't really research online. This is funny. Partly because I don't trust it, but also because I want to learn it myself. I want to build my own new reality myself. And maybe that's in part because I feel a bit wounded by the old reality that was kind of given to me on a plate. Here, John, here's the matrix. Here's the program. Consume it, it's lovely. Make you happy. And it didn't, right? Or there's points of happiness, but not really. It didn't fill my heart. Okay, gulp inbound. And if I describe, maybe this will, as best I can, I keep remembering and going back to the question that Nancy asked, is how I describe myself now as I operate as a human is very, very different, right? I'm not fully awakened. I just feel I'm exponentially more awakened than I was when I first started my awakening journey. And if it wasn't clear, age 40, November 2017, I was a senior manager at Amazon, working full-time, more than full-time. I was drinking a lot every day. And I was stuck in a mindset of consumerism and avoiding my fears. So no space for psychic abilities, no meditation. I used to run, but that was about it. Now, including today, my heart has such a big part to play in every day. And I mean this in the things I do, in my planning. So for example, it logistically probably would have been easier last night to just drive all the way up to Morpeth, which would have been probably 4 hours or 4.5 hours in total. And my mind was saying that, yeah, I think that's good. I mean, it's tiring, it's really tiring. Maybe it'll stop for a break, maybe even stop for a sleep. But you can do it, John. And then you just have one trip instead of, like, one day of travel instead of 2 days. And it was funny because I felt that in my heart, I really wanted to visit some historic space, some standing stones, or I really love standing stones. Equally love castles. There's a lot less castles down this area. Tons and tons in Scotland. And yeah, I just felt like, well, I would like it would feel exciting. My heart's saying I would like to visit some standing stones. So I just looked. All I did, right, is in Google Maps, if you've never done this, a handy trick is put in your start and your destination, and then once you've gone to, I think you click directions, or maybe, no, I think you have to hit start. On the right hand side of the screen, so I can see it just now in mine, there's a little magnifying glass for searching. So tap on that, and then I can type in, for example, standing stones or historic sites. The term historic is good, right? Because it can be anything: castles, stones, mounds. Oh, there's loads of mounds over to the right here. Oh, they're more recent. And then what Google Maps will do is show you on the way, it adds like an additional stop at that place. So you can drive up to that place on the way. Choose it and add it. Or in my case, I broke up the journey. And it was quite a lot of hassle. An extra place to stay, 2 different routes. However, my heart felt really happy about it. My heart felt a lot of joy. My heart was really excited about visiting these standing stones. They're called the Devil's Arrows, or Three Sisters, or Three Arrows. So that really excited me. And that just felt really good. And so I knew when I made the plan, my heart was like, yes, that feels good. And when I woke up this morning, the first thing on my mind was, oh, I'm seeing the Devil's Arrows today, these big standing stones. That's exciting. I feel the joy of that. And it felt really lovely for my heart. And I was also really excited when I went there, because it felt really joyous. And it's so easy to live a life without joy. It's so easy to, especially as an adult, right, to just ignore these things and say, oh, what's the point, you know, or like, grow up, John, like, when are you going to stop, like, touching trees and stones and talking with them? And I just said to my heart, said, I'm so excited, like, thank you for having a voice about this. And it's really simple to talk to your heart. Just place your left hand on your heart and ask your heart a question. Oh, there's a big Amazon fulfillment center or warehouse to the left. They are huge. And you just say, heart, what would you like to do today? Heart, I love you. What can I do today to show you that I love you more and more? Talk to your body in the same way. Body, what can I do to show you that I love you today? What do you need today? Remembering that really our consciousness resides more in our heart and less in our mind. Our souls anchor in through the center of our hearts and rise up into the upper aspects, some people call the upper heart or upper heart chakra. And that, you know, seek out those feelings of a full heart and full-heartedness, you know, doing things full-heartedly. You know, not F-O-O-L, full-heartedly, full, F-U-L-L, full-heartedly. And I'm being excited and telling other people, you know, I'm having so much fun right now. I'm so excited about this thing we're going to do. I feel so good. I feel so much joy right now. And pay attention to your heart in everything you do, you know, right now. I love driving and chatting with you, so thank you for joining me. And I really love being on this adventure. It's an epic adventure. And I love that my family are traveling, as we speak, 2 hours down to come and meet me. And it's so kind that they're coming to meet me part way, and then we're going camping for 3 days together. It all feels really good. And so seek that feeling. And it's not like an endorphin rush that only lasts for 3 seconds or 3 minutes or maybe even 30 minutes. It's a wholehearted joy. It's this nurturing, happy feeling. It's like, yeah, that just feels good all around. I feel good about it. And there's no condition, you know. I'm not saying to myself, oh, I'll only feel good if I eat a cake when I'm doing that, or only feel good about myself if I do that in a specific time. This is another reason why my business, I've never had a business plan, and yet my business has been wildly successful beyond my wildest dreams. It's because I'm always following my joy, what brings me the most joy, in service to others. And many of us on our awakening journeys, not everyone, but many people do choose service to others. And if it fills your heart with joy, remembering that greed, for example, is kind of an empty emotion, right? It's almost like, greed is almost like you're jealous of a version of you that could have more. And jealousy is not a good emotion either, right? These are low vibration emotions. Not to judge emotions, they're all valuable to us as experiences. And I've just learned so much of this awakening journey to open up and receive more. And that feels so powerful. You know, I receive abundance. I receive your bookings for my services. I receive your wonderful donations. I receive your beautiful, kind comments and likes for these videos. I receive the love from my family. I receive the love from myself. So as we wrap up on this, we're just over an hour. I invite you to focus on your heart healing, facing your shadows, creating strong boundaries, having a daily meditation practice. If you're new to me and to my offerings, I have a free meditation program to help. It's the same meditations I do each day to help support you on your awakening journey and connect with your spirit guide. So just visit jonbinnie.com, JONBINNIE.com, and on the homepage you'll see get started or getting started with Jon, and just work through the free materials there, right? There's over 1,000 people have, and it's just a wonderful place for you to get started on your journey. And finally, to the question of how will you know when you're fully awakened? Well, I know it's a journey, and enjoy the journey. Enjoy the hard times and the dark times, the dark tower moments, the shadows that we face. Nurture yourself, hold yourself, love yourself like you've never loved yourself before. Hold your heart like a little baby all the way through these challenging experiences. And know that every single wave of shadows you go through, every fear you face, you continue to level up, you continue to expand, you continue to upgrade. And this is absolutely a journey. And there's no rush. And just like waves, we'll go through these periods of acceleration and also calm. And even in those moments of feeling frustrated and stuck, it's like, oh, look at Jon, he can talk to trees. It's like, so once upon a time, we all knew we could talk to trees, and now we're learning that we're relearning and re-remembering. Everything you seek's within you, all the answers. That's a huge part of my job, is to help you remember, help you come back to you, come back to your heart, come back to the planet, help you recall memories and superpowers from lifetimes on this planet and many, many others. And this is a beautiful, beautiful journey. Hold yourself in grace and love and beauty throughout your whole transformation. And know that for all those times that you felt so desperately alone, you're not alone. We all share the same planet together. We all share the same source of love. We're all connected, and we're learning how to reconnect again. We're learning how to be one human race again, to be one planet again, to be one love again. And I welcome you to this new world you're creating, leading by example. Every time you face a fear, every time you follow your joy, you're showing others. Thank you so much for your question. Thank you so much for listening. I'm sending you so much love from England. I love you. Bye.